It's not over yet, Zhao Wujin seethed inwardly, deciding to give the hedgehog-like figure in front of him a lesson. He blocked in front of his face with his right hand and slapped towards Tang San's chest with his left palm. Of course, he didn't put much strength into this slap, but after suffering such a big loss himself, he felt uneasy without a small retaliation. Naturally, when he slapped, he had already withdrawn his Thousand Hands Azura's gravitational squeeze technique. Otherwise, Tang San would have been squeezed to death directly by this skill. Boom! Two muffled groans almost sounded simultaneously. Tang San's body was slapped out by Zhao Wujin, with one of the groans naturally coming from him as he flew through the air, spraying out a mouthful of blood. All his previous attacks could be said to have exhausted his mind and internal energy. At this point, he was almost running on fumes, so how could he withstand Zhao Wujin's slap? It was already good that he didn't faint from the shock. Dai Mubai placed Zhu Zhuqing on the ground, and his figure flashed as he caught Tang San, who was flying backward. The other groan belonged to Zhao Wujin. Originally, he thought it was just another hidden weapon from Tang San, so it wasn't that easy for him to block. But when the hammer hit his palm, he knew something was wrong. The seemingly small hammer was actually heavy and powerful. Although Zhao Wujin timely activated his soul power, he was somewhat lacking under the influence of the mandala snake poison and the pain on his body. As the hammer hit his palm and then struck his face, Zhao Wujin's nose immediately started bleeding, and with the palm brushing against his face, it was like a dying process, turning his face into a mess of blood. He felt a bit dazed from the impact. And after hitting him, the black little hammer disappeared silently. Tang San, supported by Dai Mubai, coughed up another mouthful of blood. Although his injuries were not light, if one were to judge superficially, no one would think that Zhao Wujin had won the fight just now. Of course, this didn't mean that Zhao Wujin's strength was not strong. After all, he was fighting against examinees. If he truly injured Tang San, it would have been somewhat inconvenient, and he also wanted to see what Tang San could achieve. He excelled in strength, not in tracking. Plus, Tang San's sudden hidden weapons were too unexpected, combined with various clever calculations, which made Zhao Wujin, who underestimated the situation, suffer a big loss. His face was completely lost. If it were a real fight, Zhao Wujin only needed to directly activate his fifth soul ring skill, and Tang San would be killed by him directly. The gap in strength was too big after all. If it were just an exam, Tang San wouldn't fight so desperately, but Xiao Wu's unconsciousness had aroused his inner courage. Plus, the tremendous pressure brought by Zhao Wujin made him erupt. Even Xiao Wu, who was awake, had never seen Tang San fight with such full force today. Dai Mubai looked at Zhao Wujin, his face covered in bloodstains, wanting to laugh but not daring to. He quickly shouted, "Hey Oscar, Oscar, come over here. You've got some business." Through soul power-driven sound transmission, as long as it was within the academy, probably no one would fail to hear it. Many years later, when Dai Mubai, the boss of the Shrek Seven Devils, had already achieved great success, when asked, among the Shrek Seven Devils, who was the most terrifying, he answered without hesitation, "Je it soft-bone Dolua, Xiao Wu." The reason was simple. Because she was the thorn in the side of Thousand Hands Dolua, Tang San. It might not be a big deal to provoke Tang San directly, but if provoking Xiao Wu aroused Tang San's anger, then terrifying things would happen. Tang San wouldn't be Thousand Hands Dolua anymore, but Thousand Hands Azura. Dai Mubai, who had been a playboy all his life and even internally joked as the world's greatest philanderer among the Shrek Seven Devils, had never provoked Xiao Wu. Because he was a smart man, he never wanted to face Tang San's wrath. And all of this was reminded by what happened in front of him. Where's the business? Where's the business?" Oscar's voice, with its distinctive softness, carried some excitement as it came closer. Soon, he appeared in front of everyone. Perhaps because he was too eager, he even abandoned his cart and ran over alone. Oscar, come here," Dai Mubai called out to him. Oscar hurried over. Boss Dai, did you call me?" Dai Mubai nodded, saying, quickly, get a few sausages out. They're all injured. Oscar was greatly pleased. 5 copper soul coins each sausage. Don't forget to settle the bill with me later. I've got some great sausages. In the midst of his strange soul skill, a flash of light appeared in his hand, and a fragrant sausage appeared instantly. Dai Mubai gestured to Tang San, eat it. Although his words might be nauseating, his sausages are indeed very effective. These are sausages with the first soul ring bonus. They can accelerate the recovery of injuries. The sausage wasn't a big deal, but whenever Tang San thought of Oscar's words, his stomach churned, so he waved his hand quickly. I'm not heavily injured, just a bit exhausted. Resting for a while will do. Let him give the sausages to others to eat. After saying that, he immediately sat cross-legged and started adjusting his breath. Just because Tang San didn't eat didn't mean others wouldn't. For example, someone who had lost face. Oscar, come over, 1 sausage and 1 wax sausage for me. Zhao Wujin's voice was a bit blurry, and it's no wonder. Although he relied on his pure soul power to suppress the toxin from spreading, his tongue was swollen from the moment he was hit by the toxin. Oscar blinked his peach blossom eyes. Who are you? How did you come to our Shrek Academy, and you even know my name? You bastard, do you want to be punished? I'm Zhao Wujin. Zhao Wujin was furious, almost unable to catch his breath, almost spraying out blood. Today's loss was quite significant, and he just wanted to quickly deal with his injuries and then threaten the children in front of him not to spread the news. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to mix well in the future. Oscar really wanted to ask Zhao Wujin why he ended up like this. He was well aware of Zhao Wujin's strength. But he quickly saw the signal from Dai Mubai and immediately withdrew his surprised expression, as if nothing had happened, and came over to Zhao Wujin in a trot, handing over the sausage he had just made and chanting a soul incantation that made everyone present laugh and cry. I've got a little wax sausage. Even though Oscar himself didn't look lewd, when he uttered this soul incantation, he became lewd to the extreme. A small wax sausage, only as thick as a little finger, appeared in his hand and was quickly handed to Zhao Wujin. Zhao Wujin didn't stand on ceremony either and ate the sausage and wax sausage one after the other. His complexion immediately improved. Dai Mubai suppressed his laughter and walked back to Zhu Zhuqing. Immediately, he received Zhu Zhuqing's extremely cold gaze. Zhu Zhuqing was not lightly injured, but she clearly conveyed to Dai Mubai with her eyes that if he dared to let that lewd Uncle Big Sausage bring his sausage over, he would be in big trouble. I'm watching you. Dai Mubai made a helpless gesture and shook his head at her. Don't worry. I will never let you eat anything from that guy. I can't bear to. Zhu Zhuqing's eyes turned cold. She closed her eyes, not even giving Dai Mubai a glance. After eating Oscar's big sausage and wax sausage, Zhao Wujin's complexion improved a lot. His clothes were already severely damaged in the previous battle, so he tore off a piece and wiped the blood off his face. Oscar's big sausage had a healing effect, while the wax sausage could dispel abnormal conditions. The effects of these two foods were extremely practical. The numbness caused by the mandala snake poison gradually disappeared, but the intense pain made Zhao Wujin's facial muscles twitch. When he looked down, he found that his skin had swollen in many places, tangled into walnut-sized bumps, and the excruciating pain came from these bumps. Teacher Zhao, have we passed? Standing aside, Ning Rongrong, the only one among the 4 examinees who was unscathed, pointed behind Zhao Wujin and asked him. Zhao Wujin turned his head and saw that the incense he had lit had long since gone out. He snorted angrily, "You passed." He didn't want to stay any longer, feeling uncomfortable being laughed at. He turned to leave. Teacher Zhao, wait a moment." Just then, a somewhat weak voice sounded, and Zhao Wujin turned his head to see Tang San, who had just been adjusting his breath. After a moment of rest, Tang San's spirits seemed to have improved a bit, and he stood up from the ground with some effort. A hedgehog. Do you have anything else? You've already passed my test. Zhao Wujin looked at the young man in front of him, feeling both hatred and love. Although he had made himself lose face and suffered some minor injuries, the combat potential and determination displayed by this child were absolutely monstrous. Tang San said, Teacher Zhao, I'm sorry. I was too impulsive just now. However, your strength is too strong for me, so I had to go all out. Let me help you remove the hidden weapons in your body. Otherwise, it may affect your health. The 10 dragon beard needles hidden in Tang San's fingernails were all on Zhao Wujin's body at this time, and the swollen wounds were not easy to resolve. Although the dragon beard needles were naturally formed from the gold fly, they were not magnetic and could not be attracted by magnets. Plus, once they pierced into the body, they immediately tangled up. Even if Tang San personally intervened, he would need to remove them quickly to prevent them from embedding deeper into the flesh. Otherwise, the wounds would have to be cut completely. Fortunately, Zhao Wujin's diamond lattice body defense was astonishing, and Tang San's internal strength was also insufficient at the time, so the dragon beard needles only pierced his skin. Otherwise, if they penetrated into his body, it would have been beyond rescue. After listening to Tang San's words, Zhao Wujin's complexion improved slightly, and his old face turned a bit red. After all, he was a soul saint. Using his 5th soul ring against a child of less than 30th level was clearly bullying. However, this little hedgehog was indeed formidable, and his myriad of strange attacks truly broadened Zhao Wujin's horizons. Tang San approached Zhao Wujin and first confirmed the positions of the dragon beard needles on his body. Seeing that most of the dragon beard needles were tangled under the skin and had not penetrated deeply, he breathed a sigh of relief. After the full-on battle with Zhao Wujin, the anger in his heart had also disappeared. He felt somewhat regretful. After all, the other party was a teacher, not an enemy, and his actions were a bit too heavy-handed. Of course, in the situation just now, facing Zhao Wujin's overwhelming pressure, he couldn't have held back even if he wanted to. His right hand turned white again, and his fingers quickly tapped on one of Zhao Wujin's wounds. With a twist and a pull, a golden needle tip emerged from under the skin. Tang San pinched the needle tip and pulled it out forcefully, removing one of the dragon beard needles. Zhao Wujin suffered greatly from this act. After the dragon beard needle pierced into his body, it immediately coiled up and tangled with his skin and muscles. When it was pulled out externally, the excruciating pain it brought, even to a big shot like Zhao Wujin, made his facial muscles twitch involent. After Tang San removed all the dragon beard needles, thick steam rose from Zhao Wujin's body, covered in sweat from the intense pain. Despite the agony, he remained resilient, not uttering a sound. After Tang San removed all the dragon beard needles, Zhao Wujin ate another sausage provided by Oscar. The wounds all over Zhao Wujin's body began to heal rapidly, and the sensation of pain decreased slightly. Tang San's already depleted inner power was drained again. This time, he didn't even speak before fainting, but luckily Oscar was by his side to catch him. Zhao Wujin's injuries were superficial, and with the help of Oscar's sausage and ham sausage, he had already recovered 90% in a short while. Watching Tang San faint in Oscar's arms, Zhao Wujin frowned slightly and said, Ye Mubai, you're responsible for getting these 4 new students settled in. Classes start tomorrow. Don't touch the weapons Tang San scattered everywhere. Some of them are poisonous. Let him clean up when he wakes up. With that, Zhao Wujin turned and left. Watching Zhao Wujin walk away, Oscar brought Tang San to Dai Mubai's side and propped Tang San up beside him, glancing at Tang San, then at the heavily injured Zhu Zhuqing and Ning Rongrong, who was unconscious in Ning Rongrong's arms. He couldn't help but say, What's wrong with Teacher Zhao today? Is it that time of the month for him? Why is he picking on a few new students? Dai Mubai replied irritably, Speak louder if you have the guts, so Zhao teacher can hear you. He's probably boiling with rage now, looking for someone to vent on. Time of the month? I think you're the one experiencing it. 30 days a month, with a one-day rest, and in February, you owe 2 days. Oscar complained, Don't be so vulgar, especially with girls around. Dai Mubai retorted, with you, big sausage uncle, around, can we avoid being vulgar? Let's settle them in first. While talking, Dai Mubai lifted Zhu Zhuqing from the ground, seemingly oblivious to her chilling, murderous gaze. Oscar glanced at Dai Mubai, then at Ning Rongrong on the other side, muttering, why do you get to hold the beauties while I'm stuck with a guy? Dai Mubai smirked, it's all about karma. When Tang San woke up from his daze, the sky outside was gradually darkening. Opening his groggy eyes, he found himself lying in a wooden hut. The room wasn't large, about 10 square meters, with another bed beside his own. Oscar was sitting on the bed, muttering something to himself. Where am I? Tang San's voice was hoarse, feeling a sense of emptiness in his body. Seeing him awake, Oscar said, this is our dormitory. From now on, you'll be sharing a room with me. Your name's Tang San, right? You were really fierce today, even Teacher Zhao suffered a lot at your hands. Oscar blinked his peach blossom eyes, excitement evident in them as he looked at Tang San. What about Xiao Wu? How is she? This was the question Tang San was most anxious to know the answer to. Don't worry, she's fine. She's staying with the beautiful Ning Rongrong. A night's rest should do her good. That 7-treasure glazed tile school's Ning Rongrong is really beautiful. Oscar swallowed, his eyes flashing with excitement. Supporting himself to sit up, Tang San knew he couldn't afford to slack off after such a massive depletion of internal power. If not restored in time, it could lower his cultivation level. Hey, Tang San. We're roommates now. Let's get to know each other, shall we? Allow me to introduce myself. I'm Oscar, a 29th level soul master, with a martial soul, sausage. They call me the sausage salesman. You can call me Oscar the sausage salesman, or just little Oscar. Tang San chuckled, isn't it big sausage uncle? Hey, what big sausage uncle? I'm shaving my beard tomorrow. I'll let you see my handsome, dashing, and elegant side. The academy has some pretty girls coming. I can't afford to look so shabby anymore. Dai Mubai obviously has his eyes on that ice beauty, so Xiao Wu is yours. Then I'll reluctantly pursue Ning Rongrong. I'm just friends with Xiao Wu. Tang San furrowed his brows. Oscar's way of speaking made him somewhat uncomfortable. Oscar smirked lasciviously. All right, stop pretending. We're all men here. Who doesn't understand who? Didn't expect you, at such a young age, to have already hooked up with a beautiful girl. You've been together all the way to the academy. Do you think nothing happened? Dai Big Brother said it's because Xiao Wu was injured that you fought so hard against Teacher Zhao. Who believes you're just friends? Don't worry, I, Oscar, have principles. As they say, you don't mess with a friend's woman. Oh no, I mean, you don't deceive a friend. I won't have any thoughts about your Xiao Wu. Seeing Oscar's lustful peach blossom eyes, Tang San was speechless. He didn't bother to explain further and went straight into a state of cultivation to restore his internal power. As the night grew quiet, the entire Shrek Academy fell silent. The exams during the day, just as Dai Mubai predicted, apart from Tang San and the other 3, none of the examinees passed the first 3 levels. And this was the year with the highest number of new students admitted to Shrek Academy in many years. As the vice dean, Zhao Wuji naturally had his own residence. At this moment, he was alone in his room, feeling a bit depressed. He had changed into clean clothes, and his wounds had healed, but the mental blow he suffered was not small. He never expected that what started as a little exercise to stretch his muscles would end up embarrassing him so much. If it were in the past, he wouldn't have given it a second thought and would have immediately eliminated Tang San. But now his status was different. He was a teacher at the academy, and Tang San was a student. He had to swallow this frustration. At the same time, he also greatly admired Tang San. From a talent perspective, Tang San was even stronger than Dai Mubai. It's just that his martial soul was slightly weaker from birth, otherwise, he might have become an unparalleled powerhouse in the future. Clutching his fist with his right hand and striking it against the palm of his left hand, Zhao Wuji sighed helplessly, I'm unlucky. How did I encounter such a little hedgehog? It seems that I'll have to properly train him in the future. Jade needs to be carved to become a gem. As he said the last sentence, a hint of wickedness appeared on Zhao Wuji's face. Zhao Wuji. Just as Zhao Wuji was thinking about how to train Tang San properly, a sudden voice caused the smile on his face to freeze instantly. It's worth noting that as a 76th level soul saint, Zhao Wuji was a prominent figure in the entire Dolua continent's soul master world, possessing a formidable spiritual power that could form a mysterious aura around his body, allowing him to clearly distinguish the sound of leaves falling within a radius of 100 meters. However, at this moment, he didn't sense anyone around him, and this voice seemed to pierce directly into his ears, sounding as if someone was speaking next to him. This level of strength made Zhao Wuji extremely cautious. He didn't recognize this voice, but he was certain that the person's strength was definitely not below his own. Who? Standing up abruptly, Zhao Wuji's eyes emitted a cold light. His reputation in the Soul Master world wasn't very good, and he had his fair share of enemies. These years of hiding within Shrek Academy had been calm, but unexpectedly, a powerful opponent appeared at this time. You come out. A faint breath locked onto Zhao Wuji. Without hesitation, Zhao Wuji leaped out of the window and onto the outside. His soul power surged to its peak, and he cautiously searched for any movements around him. Who was Zhao Wuji? As the Undying King, he had killed countless people in the past. Provoked by an unknown opponent like this, coupled with the frustration he had bottled up during the day, he was suddenly filled with anger. He stomped his foot and swiftly chased after the direction indicated by the breath. In a moment, he had already left the confines of Shrek Academy and entered a forest outside. The breath disappeared here. Come out. I know you're here. Zhao Wuji said in a deep voice. At the same time, he completed his martial soul true body for the first time, with 7 soul rings revolving around his body, flashing with dazzling light, especially the 3 black ones, which appeared exceptionally profound. A black figure slowly emerged from behind a large tree. This person was covered in black clothes, with even a black mask covering his head, making it impossible to see his face from the outside. However, he could be seen as a tall man from his appearance alone. Who are you? Zhao Wuji said coldly. Completing his martial soul true body of the great strength gold bear, he exuded a wild aura all over his body, imposing without anger. The man in black did not directly answer his question, but simply said indifferently, seeing the Undying King in this small place, I just want to spar with you. It's been a long time since I've stretched my muscles. As he spoke, the man in black slowly raised his right hand. Instantly, a black light condensed in his palm, forming a huge object. At the same time, 9 soul rings quietly appeared on his body. 2 yellow, 2 purple, 5 black. Unlike Zhao Wuji's soul rings, which were revolving, the 9 soul rings on the man in black's body were stationary at different positions, completely covering his body. 9 soul rings were already terrifying, especially the last one, which faintly revealed a red hue amidst the black. If a master were here, they would surely notice that, although they were both 10,000-year soul rings, the difference was huge. How could the soul ring from a 10,000-year soul beast be the same as that from a 90,000-year soul beast? The red hue in the black indicated that the soul ring had reached the level of 90,000 years at least. Seeing the man in black release 9 soul rings, Zhao Wuji felt a chill wash over him, and his whole body trembled like he was hit by cold water. As a soul saint level soul master, he understood the gap between high-level soul masters very well. After reaching level 60, let alone a difference of one stage, even a difference of one level would result in a significant gap in strength. Although it seemed on the surface that he and the man in black were about 20 levels apart, he was very clear that the gap between him and this man in black was even greater than the difference in soul power between Tang San and him. The title Dolua. With difficulty, Zhao Wuji uttered these 4 words, his undying king's true body trembling slightly. If he was considered a high-level figure among soul masters, then the title Dolua was the pinnacle existence among soul masters. All the dominance from his words earlier vanished, and Zhao Wuji hurriedly bowed. May I ask who the senior is visiting? Please don't joke with me. How can I be qualified to spar with you? The man in black said indifferently, what's there to qualify for? Didn't you bully those kids quite well during the day? I found that bullying people seems to feel good. Let me bully you too. Of course, you can think of it as me taking advantage of the weak. Without emitting any powerful aura, the man in black held the huge object in his hand and slowly approached Zhao Wuji step by step. Thoughts raced through Zhao Wuji's mind. On the continent, title Doluos were rare, each with their own fame. This man in front of him was obviously a tool martial soul, and even fewer tool martial souls could reach the level of title Dolua. Who could he be? Suddenly, the man in black stopped 10 meters away from Zhao Wuji and said, since you're here, come out. What's the difference between 1 and 2? Between the flickering shadows, another figure appeared beside Zhao Wuji. As soon as this person appeared, Zhao Wuji's expression relaxed slightly. A boss, this senior. The newcomer waved his hand, signaling Zhao Wuji not to speak. Faced with invisible pressure, the newcomer had no choice but to release his martial soul. A pair of huge wings spread from his back, covering his entire body in feathers. Orange-yellow eyes with vertical pupils emerged, and like Zhao Wuji, 7 soul rings of the same color suddenly appeared, swirling around his body. I pay my respects to His Majesty, Hao Tian. The man not only showed no intention of attacking, but respectfully saluted the man in black. Zhao Wuji took a sharp breath. Upon hearing his companion's words, he finally realized who the person in front of him was. His heart shrank. Oh heavens, when did I offend this terrifying fellow? This person in front of him was none other than the title Dolua, hailed as the strongest force in the Soul Master world. Although their martial souls developed in the same direction, his strength compared to that of his opponent was like a firefly to the sun. The man in black coldly said, no need for courtesy. I'm here to cause trouble. Cat Hawk martial soul, 78th level, truly deserving of being the main combatant of the Golden Iron Triangle back then, Fran. This Shrek Academy belongs to you. Fran nodded. Yes, Your Majesty. I wonder how Zhao Wuji offended Your Majesty. Could you please enlighten me? The man in black replied indifferently, enough chatter. Step aside. Otherwise, you'll be beaten along with him. Zhao Wuji, I'll give you a chance. I won't use my martial soul. If you can withstand me for the time it takes an incense stick to burn, I'll leave immediately without another word. Otherwise, you'll have to do something for me. Zhao Wuji sighed, Your Majesty Hao Tian, I really don't understand where I've offended you. Could you please explain first? His meaning was clear. Even if I have to die, let me die with understanding. However, Fran, standing beside Zhao Wuji, immediately stepped aside without any loyalty, evidently unwilling to intervene further. The man in black snorted, do I need to explain? You beat up the young one, so naturally, the old one has to step forward for justice. This is a matter of principle. Let's fight. The giant weapon in the man's hand and the 9 soul rings on his body disappeared simultaneously. But the next moment, he was already in front of Zhao Wuji. Bang! Boom! Ah! Sounds of collision, surging chi, groans, and screams echoed through the forest. Fran, stretching out his wings, couldn't help but cover his eyes and turn away, unable to bear to watch. There was no need to even light an incense stick. The entire battle had ended within 10 breaths. The man in black stood with his hands behind his back, as if nothing had happened, not a single wrinkle appearing on his black clothes. Meanwhile, Zhao Wuji lay on the ground, his head swollen, his eyes turned black, blood seeping from the corners of his mouth, panting heavily. Zhao Wuji, do you understand now? The man in black said lightly. Fran finally dared to approach, helping Zhao Wuji up. Unexpectedly, Zhao Wuji's face was filled with gratitude. Thank you, Your Majesty, for your guidance. The man in black nodded to both of them, muttered a few words, and both Zhao Wuji and Fran nodded, showing serious expressions. What just happened was compensation for you. I'll trouble you both in the future. The man in black's voice was no longer cold, but still calm. Behind his black mask, there was a hint of warmth in his deep eyes. After saying this last sentence, he disappeared quietly in a flash. Zhao Wuji and Fran stood still for a while, without moving. Even their bodies needed Fran's support to stand steady. Fran, you're really disloyal. When someone asks you to step aside, you just step aside. If His Majesty had any ill intentions, wouldn't we both be dead? Haven't you heard of his reputation? The man who dares to challenge even the Pope, what would he have to fear? He just said that if he wins, he'll make you do something for him, so naturally, he won't really harm you. Otherwise, how could you do anything for him? Don't you understand this? Zhao Wuji complained. At this moment, both of their martial souls were retracted. Standing beside Zhao Wuji was a tall old man who spoke with a slight lisp. If Tang San and Xiao Wu were here, they would surely recognize this old man as the cunning boss they bought the spirit crystal from for 200 gold soul coins. Fran said impatiently, What do you know? If he really had ill intentions, combined with me, wouldn't we both be dead? Haven't you heard of the terror of Title Dolua? This time you're lucky. Let's go back. Although you suffered a bit today, getting guidance from him is still beneficial for you as someone with similar soul strength. It was already late at night, and the students inside Shrek Academy had no idea that so much had happened on this seemingly calm night. As for Zhao Wuji's swollen face, it wouldn't recover so quickly this time.